The star of the show, Jessie Mueller, along with Doug McGrath, a great friend, who wrote the book for the musical, and both to the Leonard Lopate show today. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us.
Jessie, I'm just going to start with you. And you do such an extraordinary job playing this extraordinary woman. And I'm going to ask you the sort of obvious question, and we'll just get that out of the way.
Sure.
Is, how difficult or not is it to portray a person, and what beyond the text, the great book that Doug gave you, in these beautiful, important songs, how did you choose to research it? Was it archives? Did you meet her at all in advance? But if you can kind of talk us through.
Yeah, no, it was a process unlike anything I've ever been a part of before. The beginning stuff just started with, I knew some of her music, but like a lot of the early stuff, I knew the songs, but I didn't know she wrote them. So the auditions came up and I was like, well, this sounds really interesting. I want to try this. So I just started, Googling. Lots of Googling and lots of YouTube clips. And then I sort of got obsessed, hopefully in a still healthy way. But it just, I just tried to get my hands on everything I could get my hands on. I read her book pretty early on, I think, while I was still auditioning, her memoir that she wrote, Natural Woman. And then, just lots of listening to, and I started... my boyfriend's very helpful in collecting a lot of her stuff on vinyl too. So listening to it that way.
Because that sounds different.
Because it sounds different. And it's a different experience too to put on an entire record that way and sit through the first half and go and turn it and sit through the other half.
Now, when you came into audition and what did you choose, or was there sort of dictated what you would be singing?
That was dictated. I think by the point I came in, it was dictated. Doug, you might remember better than I do. Not that you remember mine, but you sat through a bunch of these. So we were asked to sing an early Goff and King song called Rain Until September. And then we were asked to sing Natural Woman. And I think there were 2 book scenes at that point.
I feel you also sang Will You Love Me tomorrow.
Very possible.
And were you singing the vinyl version, or were you singing?
I was singing whatever the accompanist was playing. I really don't remember if we had to sing that. And I bet we did, but
this is sort of a question for both of you, and you can only answer very subjectively. But did you know and feel, Jessie, during this audition process that there was a connection that you felt you were making that was translating to the creative team? And Doug, what was the experience like watching this young, emerging, exciting performer reveal Carole King to you? I don't know who wants to go first, how polite you want to be.
That's very kind. I'll say I had no idea if that was happening. I did feel blessed to be able to go into the audition room, and I felt like I actually was extremely nervous, but I knew that I had a connection to the material, but I had no idea if it was translating or not. But I was hoping that was enough, because that's what I feel like when I listen to her, when I watch her, is that she's so connected to the material, and it doesn't seem like she's thinking about how it's being received. It seems like she's just putting it out there, but no, if it was translating, I had no idea.
It was translating. Because it was Carole, because the part was Carole, we had a lot of people who wanted to play the part.
Sure.
And we saw a lot of really great, talented people. But this funny thing happened, which was that some people could sing the part and not act the part.
Right.
And then some of the people who could act the part could act the heartbreak of the part, but not the comedy of the part.
Right.
Or vice versa.
Right.
And then and we were getting a little nervous.
Yeah,
because
I'm sure. It's a lot to ask of one person, especially a younger person. And it would be so nice to have kind of found somebody rather than somebody who was already found in a bigger way.
Very much. Well, it's very much about an artist emerging.
Yeah.
That's what the story is about. It's about someone who discovers that she's an artist in many ways and doesn't realize her full gift at the beginning of the show. She thinks she's a songwriter. She is a songwriter.
Yes.
But that's what she thought her whole story was.
Yes.
And she found out that there was a whole other part of her story. And so when Jessie came in, it was such a thrill, because if you're the book writer, you have your hopes for the book.
Yeah.
And there just had been no one who came in and got it the way Jessie got it, which was with Carole's modesty, because Carole's a very modest, unassuming person, but she's a funny person in many ways, and she's a very smart person. But her intelligence, and you've met her now, you've spoken to her, I think you might agree that she's it's clear she's intelligent, but she's not intimidatingly intelligent.
Right, and
she doesn't
need
put
to
you off with it.
prove it, to point it out or to
Exactly.
show it off. And
Right.
When she came, the Times wrote that nice piece about her coming to the show a couple of weeks ago, and you, I think you were quoted in the piece as saying you didn't know, which seemed to be your
No.
preference. I can't
Oh, God,
imagine
no.
in advance.
I wouldn't have. I mean, I knew I would have had to have gone on stage because
By law,
sort of my job.
contractual.
Yes, especially if it was after half hour. But yeah, no, I had no idea.
And did any of the creative team know?
Doug, you know, right?
A tiny bit of, a very small circle knew.
So
but
were you there in the house?
I was there in the back.